April 1945. The air in a small Bavarian village hangs heavy with the scent of damp earth and lingering smoke from distant artillery. Dawn breaks cold and gray over the ruined fields, where young women of the Reichsarbeitsdienst, the female branch of the labor service, stand in weary formation. Their uniforms are patched and mud-stained, their legs wrapped in coarse woolen socks that chafe against wooden clogs. Exhaustion etches their faces as they await the inevitable advance of Allied forces. This moment marks the twilight of a regime that had mobilized millions of German women into service for the fatherland. The Reichsarbeitsdienst, or RAD, had compelled girls as young as 17 to serve 6 months or longer as the war dragged on in agricultural labor, factory work, or auxiliary roles supporting the Wehrmacht. Known informally as RAD Maidens, they embodied the Nazi ideal of dutiful femininity, strong backs for the soil, pure hearts for the Volk, sacrificing personal comfort for national survival. Silk stockings, makeup, and high heels had been denounced as decadent. Practicality reigned. Yet beneath the propaganda lay years of deprivation, rationed food, endless toil, and the slow erosion of hope as bombs fell and fronts collapsed. As American columns rolled into Western Germany in the spring of 1945, these young women encountered a world they had been taught to fear and despise. Propaganda painted the Americans as gangsters and plutocrats, destroyers without culture. The RAD Maidens expected brutality, perhaps vengeance for the ruins around them. Instead, they met smiling GIs, young men from a distant continent, handing out cigarettes, chocolate, and something far more astonishing, sheer nylon stockings, rolled neatly in small packages. What the German girls anticipated was conquest's harsh face. What they experienced was an almost casual abundance. American soldiers, paid better than their European counterparts and supplied through vast industrial networks untouched by bombing, carried these luxuries in their kits. Nylon, invented by DuPont in the late 1930s and hailed as a miracle fiber, had flooded the American market before the war. By 1940, millions of pairs sold in days, transforming women's fashion with their durability, sheen, and seamless fit. But when America entered the conflict, nylon production shifted to parachutes, ropes, and military gear, yet post-war stocks and personal allotments allowed GIs to acquire them again by 1945. In Germany, synthetic stockings like Perlon had briefly appeared in the late 1930s, but war priorities ended civilian production. Silk imports ceased early. Women resorted to darning old pairs endlessly, painting legs with makeup or tea stains to mimic seams, or going bare under skirts when wool ran short. Black market prices soared for any sheer hosiery. Historical records from occupation diaries and post-war memoirs recount the scene repeatedly. A GI approaching a group of wary RAD auxiliaries, perhaps recently released from labor camps or simply standing amid the rubble, and extending a pair of nylons with a grin. "For you, Fräulein." The reaction was profound. Accounts describe young women gasping, hands trembling as they touched the gossamer fabric, smooth, elastic, impossibly fine. Some stood frozen, breath caught in their throats, eyes wide with disbelief. One post-war recollection from a former RAD worker in Bavaria noted how the sheer material felt like a whisper against skin hardened by years of rough wool and mud. Another spoke of the moment as a revelation. The nylons were not merely clothing, but a tangible proof of a world where scarcity did not rule every day. Factual records underscore the disparity. American production capacity, unbombed and fueled by abundant resources, churned out consumer goods even amid war. By early 1945, as DuPont ramped up civilian nylon again, soldiers became conduits of this plenty. In occupied zones, nylons joined chocolate bars and chewing gum as currency of goodwill and sometimes more. U.S. Army reports and veteran interviews confirm that stockings were among the most prized gifts, traded or given freely to bridge the chasm between victor and vanquished. For the RAD maidens, steeped in ideology that glorified austerity and sacrifice, they encountered this shattering illusions. They had been told the Reich fought for a new order of strength and purity. Instead, they held in their hands a product of capitalist ingenuity, light, luxurious, effortless. The nylons symbolized not just femininity reclaimed, but American abundance, a society that could wage total war yet still produce frivolities in excess. One documented quote from a German woman in 1945 captured the shift. "We thought they were barbarians, but they have things we can only dream of." Another from occupation-era letters reflected quietly, "When he gave me the stockings, I realized our leaders had lied about everything, the war, the world, even what a woman could feel on her own legs." This transformation ran deep. Many young women raised under Nazi socialism began questioning the Reich's narrative. The simple act of slipping on nylons, smooth against skin long accustomed to irritation, became a private rebellion. Post-war testimonies reveal how such moments accelerated denazification from within, ideology crumbling not under lectures but under the weight of experienced reality. Former auxiliaries later described shedding uniforms for civilian clothes, rolling the nylons up their legs as a first step towards normalcy, towards choice. The nylon stocking recurs as the enduring symbol here, delicate yet resilient, sheer yet revealing. It represents American democracy's quiet power, not imposed by force alone, but by the allure of plenty freely shared. In a land of ration cards and forced labor, it whispered of freedom, to choose, to adorn, to live beyond survival. In the end, as Europe rebuilt amid the ashes of 1945, these encounters lingered in memory. A pair of nylons, offered with a smile across the divide, linked personal wonder to grander truths. They spoke of a system's collapse not just in battlefields, but in human hearts, where abundance triumphed over austerity, openness over control. Freedom, it seemed, could arrive not with thunder, but with the soft rustle of synthetic silk, a reminder that ideologies built on denial cannot withstand the gentle persistence of plenty. In that breath-held moment, when young women first felt the future against their skin, the old world exhaled its last, and a new one, imperfect yet abundant, began to breathe.